Who's the best high school football player you've ever seen play? When I think about that, there are three different guys I think of. James Brooks was unbelievable for Warner Robins High School. They came to town here and played Baylor. Baylor had won back-to-back state championships, and James Brooks destroyed Baylor with 2 or 3 long punt returns and several. He probably ran for 300 yards. He later went on to star at Auburn and played for years for my favorite pro football team, the Cincinnati Bengals. I also think of Chris Carter. Chris Carter played for Middletown High School. I saw him play against Lima Senior High School, and he was amazing. The third guy I think of is the best football player from the Chattanooga area that I have ever seen play in person. His name's Adarius Bowman. Adarius Bowman was amazing. I went to see him play for Notre Dame High School in Chattanooga. They played McCallie. Notre Dame was not good. Adarius Bowman caught 300 yards worth of passes, including 5 touchdowns. They lost the game. McCallie had 3 and 4 defenders trying to guard him. It didn't matter. He was amazing. Adarius Bowman was 6'4", 220. That's a big high school receiver. He was All-State 2 times. He was Mr. Football 2 times. He signed with the University of North Carolina. At the University of North Carolina, his first year, he played in every game. He started the last 2 games. He scored 2 touchdowns. He had a good freshman year. That's good. His second year, about the same. After his second year, he failed a drug test, and they had a zero tolerance policy at the University of North Carolina. And so he transferred to Oklahoma State University. His position coach had taken a job at Oklahoma State. He still believed in Adarius Bowman, and so they gave him a scholarship. Adarius redshirted the year that he transferred, and then his junior year, he was the newcomer of the year in the Big 12 Conference. He had an unbelievable season. He was the National Player of the Week when he set a record with 300 yards and receptions in one game. He had 12 catches for 300 yards, a Big 12 conference record. He was the Oklahoma State University team MVP his junior year, and everybody was looking for big things out of Adarius Bowman for his senior season. Adarius' senior season wasn't great, but he was ranked the number 19 senior by Mel Kiper Jr. He had left his problems at North Carolina behind, and people had big hopes. Of course, he had NFL size for a receiver. He was fast. He could catch the ball in a crowd. He really had a big future in front of him. Todd McShay said at the very worst, Adarius would be a second-round draft pick in the 2008 draft. Adarius got in trouble before the draft. By the way, a second-round draft pick is guaranteed a 4-year contract valued at $8 million. He had left his problems at UNC behind. He got himself together, and he had a bright future. If you got a a 4-year, $8 million payday waiting on you, you're in pretty good shape. On April 1st, 2008, Adarius Bowman was arrested about 45 minutes from here in Athens, Tennessee. He threw some marijuana when the police started to pick him up, he threw the joint out of the car. They caught him with other marijuana, other drug paraphernalia. He was arrested, and his good name, went down the drain. All the problems came back up, and Adarius lost his opportunity to play in the National Football League because of an addiction that he had. And just think about it for a second. That's an $8 million joint that he was smoking. The life lesson I want to teach you right here is this. We get to make choices, but we don't get to choose the consequences. All of us make choices. We make choices every day. You chose today which shirt to wear. Did you want to wear a blue shirt, green shirt, striped shirt? Wasn't that big a deal. You probably didn't give it that much thought. I'm about to choose what I'm going to eat for lunch. I might have a taco. I might have pizza. It's just not that big of a deal. What you wear. But some choices are big choices. What you do with your education, that's a big decision. That's a big choice. Who you date, who you marry, those are huge decisions. Who you hang out with, who your friends are, those are tremendously big decisions. See, we get to make choices, but we don't get to choose what happens. We don't get to choose the consequences. Whatever happens, that's what happens. So we've got to make good choices then. It's on you as a young person to make good choices. You will get to make choices, and then your choices will make you. We'll talk about that in a future lesson. But it's sad when I think about Darius Bowman, unbelievable athlete. God gave him gifts he didn't give to the rest of most of us. He should be in the NFL right now, making millions of dollars for himself and for his family. And today, 5-6 years later, Darius Bowman has played 3 years in the Canadian Football League. Darius Bowman plays now for the Edmonton Eskimos. Canadian football is not the NFL. Most Canadian Football League players work a part-time job in the morning. They go to practice in the afternoon. It's not even a full-time job. Darius Bowman works for a printing company in the morning. And then he goes and works with his team, the Edmonton Eskimos. I turned on the TV the other night to watch him. He had a knee injury. He wasn't even able to play. I think of what might have been. Darius Bowman was every bit as good in high school as James Brooks, who played for over a decade for the Cincinnati Bengals. He was every bit as good as Chris Carter, who starred at The Ohio State University and then went on to play for the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. He was a Hall of Fame receiver. Darius Bowman had those types of gifts, and he threw them away because he ignored the principle. And the principle is this. I want you to get it. Don't miss it. We get to make choices. We don't get to choose the consequences. I could make a choice. By the way, I'm hopelessly in love with my wife. She's amazing. But I could make a foolish, selfish choice. And I could hurt her. And then what happens? What if I cheated on my wife in a moment of insanity, in a moment of selfishness? What if I had an affair? What if I cheated on my wife? That'd be a terrible choice. And there are a lot of possible consequences. Guess what? I don't get to choose the consequences. And there aren't any good ones. If I cheated on my wife, she might never find out. But even that's not a good consequence, because I would have to live with the guilt the rest of my life that I've made promises to her that I didn't keep, that I was unfaithful, that I'm not genuine, I'm not real, I'm just phony. And if she found out, she would be hurt. Even if she forgave me, the trust would never be the same. And she might just hit me over the head with a frying pan, which I would deserve. She might leave me. I don't know. What I'm saying is this. We all get to make choices. We don't get to choose the consequences. Let's make good choices. Because if you make good choices, the chances are you're going to get good consequences. So that's our lesson. Thanks for listening. This is Coach T for To The Hill. God bless you, and I hope you do well.